In this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about predatory journals. And the reason we wanted to do this is because we had a few questions from people asking to explain these in a little bit more detail. And in this video, we're hoping to give you some more information that can supplement our blog post on our website. So here is our video on predatory journals. So first and foremost, what is a predatory journal? So in academics, we all know that you have to publish, that research is priority, and it's very important for early career researchers especially, but everyone who's seeking tenure and better positions to continue publishing. And what predatory journals are, they are academic journals that don't have a high reputation, and they are often predatory because they try to get people who might be desperate to publish in them or people who are unaware about their tactics to submit their research to their journals. And this is problematic for a few different reasons. So first of all, if you publish in one of these journals, it will be harmful to your reputation as an academic, especially if you're seeking a tenure track job or if you're someone who has to go and apply for grants or anything. You're going to be looked at negatively if you have publications in predatory journals, or even if you've presented at some of these predatory conferences, which we'll talk about in a different post and video. But these are journals that look to exploit people and take advantage of people who want to get publications, and they will often charge exorbitant fees to publish in them. So typically, journals don't charge ridiculous amounts of fees to publish in them. Sometimes there will be processing fees if you submit or publish in a journal, but these are usually relatively minor, maybe they range from 50 to a couple hundred US dollars, which even in some fields is quite expensive, but these journals may charge upwards of $1,000. So this is a problem because not everyone has $1,000 to at their disposal to go and to pay for a journal publication like this. And if you're not getting a reputable publication out of it anyway, that turns out to be a really significant waste of money. So in short, these are journals that do not really have a legitimate peer review process. They do not have proper editorial oversight, and they often are not indexed in the databases that they say they are, and they'll charge you fees to publish with them, and it won't look good on your CV if you do. So you want to be aware of these. What are some things to look for when you are trying to determine if a journal is predatory or not? So it could be a little bit difficult because some journals may seem very legitimate when they are in fact predatory. Some journals that are in fact legitimate may not have good websites or may not have really put together editorial processes, which may sort of make it appear as if they're predatory when they are in fact not. So what should you look for if you want to determine if a journal is predatory or not? First of all, try to look for publication fees. So hidden or unclear publication fees are often a sign that the journal is predatory in nature. So if the journal makes vague references to processing fees upon acceptance, or they even put out an exorbitant fee like $2,000 to publish in them, that's a pretty good sign that you're dealing with a predatory journal and you want to stay away from them, because generally most reputable journals will not charge that, and they also will be clear and transparent. So if you go to the website, you'll see that here is the fee that we charge to publish. And this could be a little bit tricky because it seems like some fields, they do charge publication fees that can be quite a lot of money, but if the fee is too exorbitant, that's a pretty good sign that it's a predatory journal. Next, unsolicited emails with exaggerated praise. I often get emails from editors from these predatory journals that are completely outside of my field, praising me for my research and inviting me to submit my research to their journal. And what they're doing is they're basically just spamming people that they find on other journals or in databases. They're just getting their email, or they're looking on other websites that have academic publications on them, like Taylor and Francis, Routledge, or whatever, and they're sending out mass emails to people. But I get emails from journals that are completely out of the field of study and research that I've done in the past. So I have a PhD in anthropology. I'm finishing up a master's in public health right now. I've researched on a wide variety of topics, but I get emails from these kinds of journals in the fields of physics and biology and experimental psychology, clinical psychology, psychiatry, all kinds of stuff that really is way out of the range of my expertise. And if they're sending me these emails, I know that they haven't really carefully looked at my researcher profile, and these can be considered predatory because the topics that they're asking me to publish about or the topic of their journal is not what I am at all specialized in. Next, journal name mimics reputable titles. So for this here, what we mean is that you'll often get journals that will not be legitimate, but they will have a very similar name to a reputable journal, or it will look like a reputable journal. So something like International Journal of Scientific Research. It sounds like it could be a legitimate journal. It sounds like it touches upon any kind of scientific research process or something, but in fact, it is very broad, and there's publications in the journal from a lot of different fields. So if it isn't specialized, there isn't some overarching theme to the journal and to the content that they're publishing, if it's just overly broad, that should be a red flag. And you can go to the journal and you can see the kind of articles that are in there and see, okay, are these articles coming from a specialized field like psychology or clinical psychology or something specific? And then you can determine, okay, the journal is focused enough, it makes sense that this might be a journal in this field. Or if it's really broad and you can say, they're publishing all different kinds of papers from all over the place and there's no real coherent theme running through them, that could be a red flag. And this could come in a few different forms. So you want to be aware of the topics and the scope of these kinds of journals and to see what's being published in them. Fourth, the editorial board. So when you're dealing with these journals, you should look at the editorial board and see where the people on the board currently are. So if there is no editorial board, that's probably a major red flag that the journal is not transparent about who's on the editorial board. Second, if the editorial board is made up of people from a lot of different disciplines. So again, when I was doing research for this presentation and blog post, I went to one of these journals and I saw that they had an editorial board that was made up of people from all over Central Asia, South Asia, Africa, and their backgrounds were completely different. So they were medical doctors, they were mathematicians, they were biologists. And again, this is what I mean by that really broad range of fields that they're covering in the journal. This is not something you would get if you go to the editorial boards of, let's say, the Journal of Asian Studies, the American Anthropologist, the International Journal of Sociology. First of all, you'll be able to find the editorial boards very easily. Second of all, you'll be able to see, oh, these people are kind of within the field of anthropology or within Asian studies, so they do something related to the scope of the journal. If you have people on the editorial board who are mathematicians, biologists, people in the social sciences, medical doctors, dentists, and they're all on the same editorial board, that should be a red flag as well. Next, number 5, unrealistically fast peer review. So typically peer review processes can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, depending on how the journal workflow goes. I've submitted articles to journals and I've gotten feedback as much as 6 months later. Some really high journals could have a time lag of 2 years from the time that an article is submitted and it goes through the peer review process and then is finally published. So peer review process is very time consuming and energy consuming. These predatory journals will promise a much faster turnaround time because they know desperate people who may want to have publications on their CV for whatever reason, they're willing to go and to submit to a lesser reputable journal if they want publications for some reason. Maybe they have a 10-year review coming up. It could be any number of things. But if the process is unrealistically fast, you want to look at that with skepticism because that could be a sign that this is in fact a predatory journal. And then finally, number 6, false claims about indexing. So these days, a lot of university systems want people that have the publications in highly respectable databases. And so PubMed, EBSCOhost, Scopus, Web of Science, many journals will say that they are indexed in these databases when they are in fact not. So if you go to check the database to see if the journal is in there and it is not in there, that's a sign you're dealing with a predatory journal. And this goes back to the third point above where the journal name mimics a reputable title. So it could be that the journal that you're submitting to closely resembles the title of a journal that is in fact indexed in one of these databases, but it isn't actually in the database. And that's what I mean by, that's one of the reasons why these journals will have a name that closely resembles one that is more reputable or indexed in these databases. In short, These are some of the major things you want to look out for when dealing with predatory journals. If you have any questions about whether a journal is predatory or not, you can feel free to reach out to us. We will give you an honest opinion for free on this, or you could talk to us in our free consultation about anything you're concerned related to predatory journals. If you have any doubts about a journal or any part of the editorial process, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much for watching our video, and good luck preparing your articles.